Create Enchantment Industries for Create 6.0 has changed a lot in the most recent version. To show you what can be done in the Create Enchantment Industries, I have already set up a massive factory that will fully automate OP armor and tools like this. Do you want Protection 5, Blast Protection 5, Fire Protection 5, and Projectile Protection 5 all on the same pair of boots? Well, you can do that. We have Feather Falling 5, Soul Speed 4, everything one higher than what you can get in the base game, all on the same pair of armor. It is absolutely incredible. The same is true with Sharpness, Smite, and Bane of Arthropod 6. All on one sword. This thing is absolutely OP, and if you can get the most overpowered version of these tools in your game, you will be unstoppable. This is my Create Enchantment Industries test world, and we're going to be in this little area for today, but you can see the amount of testing that I've done and the amount of work that I've put in just to automate full armor, weapons, and tools. And by the end of this video, you should at least understand how everything here works. As I mentioned, we're going to be starting over here, which is kind of just the layout of everything that is added within this mod. To go over what is actually added, first of all, there is a required mod for this that, at least for me, was installed when I tried to install Create Enchantment Industries, and that mod is Create Dragon Plus. And Create Dragon Plus is just a little additions mod, at least that's what it seems, where you have a couple of different items here, but they're kind of just extensions to what we already have in the game. So for starters, we get dyes of every different dye color in bucket form. This can be pumped through liquids and stuff. If we look at our menus here, we can see that brown dye can now be created by heating up just the normal brown dye item and some water. And this is true for every different dye color and type. Gray dye, water gets you that gray dye type. And then we'll see how it gets used in other things later. Probably the most interesting and important thing for Create Enchantment Industries, at least, is the smithing template. This is going to be used as one of the ingredients for the Blaze Enchanter and Blaze Forge, which we'll get into later. There's a Dragon's Breath bucket, which honestly, I don't know what Dragon's Breath does in bucket form, and I'm kind of scared. Oh, it can be used for brewing just to make lingering potions, and it's just an automated form to do that. That's actually super sweet. And then the final thing is a fluid hatch. I assume, yep, that means you can, and let's see if I get an empty bucket. You can insert any liquid into an item or fluid holder, right click it to get it out, at least if you're using an empty bucket, and that's actually pretty simple. I would guess this is going to be pretty useful if you want to get a big tank of lava or something, so that you don't need to pipe in something with it, and then that'll be used for my XP farm. But those are all the things that are added with the Create Dragons Plus. Now let's get to the actual Create Enchantment Industries. I promise these are going to be useful a little later on. To get started, we're going to start over here with the basic XP add-ons. The block of experience and I think even nugget of experience are both just normal create blocks. I may be wrong here. Yeah, it looks like this one is create and this one's create building blocks. So if you have either of those, they're probably already in here, but they both get added in Create Enchantment Industries. And then the new things that are added are going to be this enchanting template, a bucket of enchanting, block of super experience, nugget of super experience, and a super enchanting template. These two we'll get into in a minute, but the block of experience, nugget of experience, oh, you just saw me use it. Nugget of experience, block of super experience, and nugget of super experience are pretty much used in the same way. The nugget of experience, if you right click in your inventory, will give you some experience there, and the nugget of super experience does the same thing. These are rated for the same amount of experience if you were to compare the two in, let's say, JEI or something. You can see that when crushed, this will give you 3 millibuckets, and the same is true with the normal experience. So what's the real difference between these two? The only real difference that I could find was that one can make a normal enchanting template and one can make a super enchanting template. These enchanting templates are made by pressing the applicable block type under a press on a depot or a belt, and you'll get either an enchanting or super enchanting template. We'll go into what the difference is for these later, but basically the super enchanting template can get mending while enchanting an item. So if you were to put it in an enchanting table, you can get mending on these things, which is super cool. And then this one is going to be just your standard enchantments. The way you craft these blocks of super experience is if you set up a little area of normal experience with a lightning rod in the center, and either wait for a thunderstorm or get a channeling trident, or, which we'll learn in a little bit later in the video, if you super enchant a Blaze Enchanter, that will spawn a lightning strike, which should, it went to the wrong one, which should strike this lightning rod, turning all of these blocks into blocks of super experience, which you can then mine up and then replace with more if you need more. The bucket O enchanting is very similar. If you right click it, you get a ton of experience. I think this is a full 1,000 millibuckets, so you get way more than the 3 millibuckets that the nugget of experience gets you. And the way to refill it is to put it under a spout filled with experience, and there you go. You can just keep going like crazy. And it seems like this is the way to kind of transfer it easily in your inventory. There aren't too many uses for the bucket of experience, but it's good that they added it to the mod. The next two things are semi-miscellaneous. You can see this one is an experience hatch, which you can see I have 40 levels right now. If you shift right click, you can collect all the experience in a fluid tank. And if you right click, you can fill it all the way back up. And then the other one is a new block called an experience lantern. This thing can take the experience in the nearby area. So you see right now I have 40 levels. If I got close enough to it, you can see my levels start going away and they start going into the experience lantern. Once it's full with one bucket of experience, it won't take any more, and it, I think, lights up a little bit more. It's kind of difficult to tell. If we bring them out into the open where nothing is, you can see, yeah, this one doesn't produce light. So I don't know what the point is, but as you can see, when you break it, you do get that XP back. So it can store it for you. Another interesting thing is that this experience lantern with 0 buckets filled, if it's on a contraption, it will fill up. So if we take that off again, oh, maybe we need to move it around. There we go. You can see a little bit was put into this liquid experience lantern, and I think if we were to kill mobs, more XP would go into here. So if you had it connected up to a train, you can, I guess, count the amount of mobs that you kill with it. I'm not entirely sure what the use case would be for this, since it doesn't light up the area, but it's something. And with that out of the way, that is kind of the boring stuff. And you might be thinking, how is the thing that gives you mending on an enchantment kind of boring? And we'll get to that, because it is somewhat useful, but it's not nearly as useful as what we are coming up with now. This is going to be the mechanical grindstone, which is the new Disenchanter. So if you're used to the Create 0.5 Enchantment Industries, this is the new Disenchanter, and it is way cooler. It has some of the same functionality. So if we put in a bunch of nuggets of experience into here, you could see that they get grinded up, and that XP would have gotten added to this fluid tank. Let me just take out all this XP for us, and we can see new XP is being added 3 millibuckets at a time. It can also disenchant swords. So we have this super OP sword, which I haven't even brought up yet. Let me quickly butt in at the beginning of the video to talk about that, because that's super important. If we throw in a few of these, you could see that they do get disenchanted, and maybe we need to, oh, it just went the wrong way. So it appears I've done it the incorrect direction somehow. There we go. You can see it disenchants the item, and I'm actually not sure how much XP it gives back. So let's test this again. Gives back 169 millibuckets, which is not even near a third of what I used to enchant that sword, but I mean, at least you're getting some of it back. So this can be used for mob grinders or spawners or anything that you're using for that purpose. Let's turn it back to the correct way. And then the final one is that this can be used as sandpaper, an infinite supply of it pretty much as well, which is incredible news. So to show you what I mean, normally if you want to make polished rose quartz, you need to, with a deployer or just in your hand, you need to put sandpaper on a rose quartz to get the polished version. Well, now you can just put it into the grindstone, and there we go. Polished rose quartz with a grindstone, and that makes automation so much easier. You don't need to fill up a deployer with a bunch of sandpaper. You can just grindstoneify it immediately. I totally forgot to mention how to make one of these grindstones. First, you need to right-click an item drain with a grindstone on top of it to turn it into a grindstone drain, and then on top of that, you need to place a second mechanical grindstone where we can then connect it up to power. You can see here on both sides there are different things. So this side is going to be the pipe and this side the cog. If you want to spin it around, just right click the top with a wrench, and then you'll have the pipe on the other side, and then you can connect it up to power this way. They both needed to be connected to power and spinning in different directions, kind of like crushing wheels would, and the best way to do this is with 2 cogs, since those will always be spinning in opposite directions, as you can see here. Moving on now to the 3 final items before we get to the entertaining stuff over on the other side. These are all cakes o' enchanting. They are used to actually enchant in the super enchanting level that we talked about earlier in the video. To enchant these super enchanting templates, they are basically our superheated blazes. Just to spoil the video a little bit, if you right click a blaze enchanter with a cake o' enchanting, it will give them the superheated version of experience. That can then be used to enchant these super enchanting templates. So these super enchanting templates can be placed on one of these superheated blazes, which will then give us one of many OP enchanting templates like Swift Sneak 3, just from enchanting without having to visit any ancient city. So that's why these things are useful, but how do you make them? In the back here, we have the crafting recipe. So similar to a normal blaze cake, we need sugar and eggs, and instead of cinder flour, we need lapis. All of those, if combined in a basin with a mechanical press, will form a cake base o' enchanting. This, if then spouted on with a full bucket of liquid experience, will create 1 Keiko Enchanting. This Keiko Enchanting can be used as a full bucket of hyper liquid experience in a Blaze Enchanter or Blaze Forge, which means it is a 1-to-1 conversion from liquid experience to the super experience. That is a change in the newest version, where before I think it was either 10-to-1 or 100-to-1, which was a crazy conversion rate. This is also mostly automatable in the base create mod. The only thing that isn't is Lapis. But since you can get Fortune 4 with this type of farm, after a little bit, Lapis won't be that hard to mine yourself, and there are plenty of extensions that will automate Lapis for you. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the more impressive ones. We're going to start with the Blaze Enchanter. The Blaze Forge will come later, but the Blaze Enchanter has a couple of unique features that I'd like to go over. To make a Blaze Enchanter, we need a smithing template, which can, I think, be found in the Nether. This can also be duplicated once you have one with just blaze rods, so it's relatively affordable. A blaze burner and an enchanting table in a smithing table. This can then be placed down in your world, and you can see that it kind of looks like this. To go over first, we have a little enchanting level slider here, which basically means you can fine tune the enchanting level. Instead of putting a bunch of bookshelves around an enchanting table, this has it all built in for you. So you can do a level 30 enchant or a level 1 enchant or anything in between and fine tune those results. The reason you may want to do this is because enchanting is kind of stupid and I had to learn how to do this. This table on the screen now shows you all of the different enchanting levels, the odds to get them, and what would happen if you do get them. And it's not really important for this video, since most of the time any enchanting you're going to want to do is going to just be at the start of your process, and once you get a singular book of that type, even if it's like Respiration 1, you will not need to get that enchantment ever again. The things it does matter for are things like Swift Sneak, Mending, and so on. But to go over how to do that, I think it's best that we just go over how the Blaze Enchanter works. So first, to give a Blaze Enchanter energy, you can either feed it one of those Keiko Enchanting, or supply it with liquid experience from below. Any other supplying direction, like from the side or up top, will not connect to it, so you need to be doing it from below. Once you connect it up to power, it'll turn orange, and this will mean you can enchant it with the standard enchanting templates, and it will be able to go up to level 30. If you supply it with Keiko Enchanting and you look at the slider, you can see that it now goes up to 60. And with a level 60 enchantment, that'll make it possible to get the Mending and Swift Sneak books. I think technically it doesn't need to be level 60 to get Mending, since you just need it to be superheated, but for the Swift Sneak 3, you absolutely need to max that out. But let's go back to the normal ones. So the way to enchant something, you need to first set the enchantment level. So if I want a first level enchantment, it'll use less experience, but if we bump it up to 30, we can put in any armor, tools, or book on top of it, and it will enchant it for us. I've set up mechanical arms back here because those are the other 2 items that can interact with the Blaze Enchanter. Things like deployers or funnels are not able to, which is a change from the previous Create 0.5 version. But as you can see, we have enchanted this book with a level 30 enchantment, and we got Silk Touch and Efficiency on them, which is both pretty good. As I mentioned, these mechanical arms can enchant stuff for us. I may need to replace you. There we go. This mechanical arm, as you saw, put on the pants onto the Blaze Enchanter, and once it's done, this one's going to take it off. So both of those are possible. But these enchanting templates can also be used. Unfortunately though, they can't be put on blank. Instead, we need a set of filters for the Blaze Enchanter to know what to enchant the enchanting template with. Basically, your enchanting template is acting as your boots or your sword or your book. So how do we know what to set the filter for? Obviously, if you want to enchant armor, you are gonna enchant boots, chestplate, leggings, or a helmet. Let's say we wanted to get Depth Strider on our boots, but we wanted to use an enchanting template to do it. Well, there's a reason I put in 2 different boot variants here, and that is because of the enchantability of different armor and weapon types. Another table on the screen now, but basically, gold is the best with the enchantability for at least armor of 25. This, with a bunch of other math, gets us the table that we saw before that's also on screen now to get us a certain enchantment type. So let's say we wanted that Depth Strider 3 on those boots. With the enchantment type, we need to get to between 30 and 45 of those boots for the highest opportunity of getting them. I would also like to note, if we bump it up past 35, that means we're almost destined to get protection or fire protection, both of which would be handy in this scenario. And that 30 to 45 is done with a little bit of other math and random numbers, so you can't always guarantee a specific number, but let's say gold gives us the highest chance of getting Depth Strider on our boots. So now we can put our enchanting template on it. I've already set the filter here to golden boots, since that gives us a 25 enchantability, and once this is done, we will hopefully see Depth Strider 3 into this barrel. Unfortunately, we only got protection, but that is unfortunately the devastating factor with enchanting in random numbers. So we may have to do this a couple times so that it will enchant with the right version. But if we speed up the process here and we just look and wait until we get our Depth Strider 3, there we go, and we already have 2 of those. So after a short period of time, we have plenty of Depth Strider for us, so that is kind of how it works. The final thing we need to cover for the Blaze Enchanter is the Super Blaze Enchanting. This can only be done on our Super Enchanting templates, which is why they're so useful. This, as we already mentioned, can bump our enchanting level up to 60, which is double the default, and the same method works. For enchanting them. However, we can't put just normal items or armor or weapons or tools on them. Instead, we need to use our super enchanting templates to do it ourselves. What's really interesting about these is that if at level 60 for some armor, weapons, or boot types, you can't enchant that, which may just mean we need to bump this down slightly so that there is something physically available to enchant, which goes back to the table that I'm not bringing up again. But what these super enchanting templates can be used for is to get the legendary enchantments. These are kind of the only main thing that you want to focus on here, and as we already got mending, we are good for that one. The only other one is Swift Sneak, and we can't put that on boots. So if we grab some gold leggings, replace the filter there, and let's just put in one super enchanting template because I'm confident we're going to get it on this one. We should see over here that the second this pops up, we are getting Swift Sneak 3. There we go. I think those are the only 2 legendary enchantments that we can't get while normally enchanting items, but if there are more, you could just use a super enchanter to do it. But honestly, if you already have or can get these 2 in a different way that's easier, you really don't need these super enchanting templates whatsoever. But this is not how I would recommend fully automating your tools or systems. The only real time to use this is when you're initially getting your books or something that you will then duplicate and anvil onto your armor. But how do we do both of those things? First, let's go to our Blaze Forger. This acts in a very similar way to our Blaze Enchanter. However, instead of an enchantment table, it is an anvil. It has the same crafting recipe in the smithing table, smithing template, blaze burner, and an anvil, and this acts pretty much identically to an anvil. At this point, if you already have books that you want to enchant on stuff, then kind of ignore those enchanting templates. It took me forever to realize that you don't really need enchantment templates once you have a Blaze Forger and an infinite supply of books. So let's say we have plenty of these Silk Touch and Efficiency books and we want to put it on our diamond pickaxe. All we need to do is place our pickaxe and then a book in the same order that we would supply a normal anvil, and after a short period of time, this will get enchanted with our Silk Touch and Efficiency. Once that's done, you can see that we have both of those on there. But what happens if we do it in the other direction? So we put a book on a pickaxe. You can see that there is no animation on the Blaze Forger now. Just to reiterate what that animation should look like, you can see there's a bunch of fire and stuff. If we put it in the inverse order, there is no fire whatsoever. And if we put on Engineer's Goggles, which you should almost certainly already have, and you hover over the Blaze Forger, you can see that this is an invalid forging item combination. That's basically saying you put the book first, dummy. This is also helpful info on our Blaze Enchanter, because it can tell you what the enchanting level is at, how much XP it consumes, and what filter you're using. So for us, it's gold boots. It says those same things over the Blaze Forger, but it also includes the forging results. Since this isn't random, it'll tell you that you're putting Silk Touch and Efficiency 5 now, since we're combining 2 Efficiency 4 books. Now I think it's time to go over the Cakes of Enchanting and Super Enchanting, and how to get those unruly Sharpness 6s or Smite 6s on your tools or weapons. So to start, let's try to combine our Efficiency 4 and Efficiency 4 together on the same one. You can see that this works as expected, creating Silk Touch 2, may I add. That doesn't do anything, it's just kind of fun, and Efficiency 5. When this is complete, you can see that a lightning strike occurred. And if you don't have any lightning rods in your area, well, you're gonna be toast. Let's just show you what happens if that's the case. Yep. You really do not want that. So that is why you always have a lightning rod nearby whenever you're working with this type of thing, but also you could just put a block above it. The only issue with putting a block above it is that there is a slight possibility that you'll get a cursed on your book. Whether it's Curse of Vanishing or Curse of Binding, both of those are not super ideal. You can see that this didn't create a lightning strike, but there is, at least in the Ponder menu, a chance of getting a curse on one of these books. I have been running some of my farms for a little while and haven't gotten one, so it is rare, but it is certainly possible. But now you can see we have Efficiency 6 on one of our books, and we can put that on our pickaxe like so. The other 2 uses of the Blaze Forger and these enchanting templates is about taking off and putting on enchantments to and from books. So you can see that we have a Silk Touch 2 and Efficiency 6 book here. If we wanted to, we would need, first of all, our super enchanting template, and we would need our book. The book always has to go first, so just remember that. But you can see this forging results say that we're going to be taking off efficiency 6 from the book and putting it onto the super enchanting template. This is a way to separate your enchants back off of the book, or if you enchant, let's say, a book with a bunch of things on it, you can take them off one by one and take only the enchantments that you wish. That super enchanting template can then be used just on a standard book. Again, book goes first, to then put that enchantment on the enchanted book in a fully separate book than the one that we just had with Silk Touch on it. This can be super useful if you have a Silk Touch and Efficiency book and you want Fortune on your weapon instead. So now we have separately a Silk Touch and Efficiency book, both of which are upgraded to the max levels. Unfortunately, trying to use a super enchanting blaze forger with a normal enchanting template, it doesn't let you do that. I don't really know why, since we do have enough standard liquid experience to perform this, but that is a thing, so at least be prepared when you try to do that. So now to recap these two most important blocks. The Blaze Enchanter literally just enchants stuff. It can enchant your normal items, or it can enchant enchanting templates. The filter on these Blaze Enchanters will decide the level of your enchanting templates that you enchant, with gold being the best, netherite being the second best, and then leather, chain, diamond, and iron as follows. This is technically better since you can get higher numbers with the gold boots, so it may be beneficial for you to, if you want to, first enchant an enchanting template with the gold filter, and then come over here and put it on a book for you to enchant fully, but I suppose that's up to you. If you thought about it, you cannot put an enchanting template as the filter here, because that kind of wouldn't make any sense. As for the Blaze Forger, this works solely like an anvil. You don't really need to use the enchanting templates for this thing to work. I really just recommend using your tools, weapons, or armor, and whatever book as you would a normal anvil, and that's kind of the main way to automate it, since printers are a thing. Printers can be made with a brass sheet, a spout, and an iron block in a crafting table, and can do a bunch of different things. The most important one probably being duplicating enchanted books. Here we can duplicate our Aqua Affinity book however many times we want, as long as we have enough of the printing cost, which is just 9 millibuckets. If you're wondering, yes, of course we can enchant our super overpowered Silk Touch 2 Efficiency 6 book, as long as we have the required printing cost, which for this is 812 millibuckets, which is quite expensive, but I mean, you are getting a pretty broken setup with Silk Touch 2 and Efficiency 6. So the other things a printer can do are, let's say, duplicate books, and these are just normally written books, as you can see here. All you need to do is supply it with black dye, which can be made just by putting dye and water in a mixer, and then you get a copy of the book. This can be super useful if you're doing like a newspaper thing on a friend's server. At least that's what I would use it for. The next thing is name tags. These are actually really fun. We have a pink dye in our printer here, and our name tag is named duplicate name. If we print this on our name tag here, you can see that this is now named duplicated name, and it has a pink name on it. So if we put it on something like a sheep, you can see that the name is now pink. That's awesome. And I'm really hoping that you can put this on an enchanting table. No, you can't. You got to do it on a normal anvil. Stinky. The next thing you can do is duplicate train schedules, clipboards, or list or attribute or package filters, all with the standard black dye. To copy a train schedule over, all you need to do is set the filter, put it in a blank train schedule, and once we duplicate that, you can see that it is set up to what I configured it before. You can also duplicate clipboards, at least that's what it says. Unfortunately, you can't set the filter to it, because something I didn't know is that clipboards can copy the functionality to other things that you look at. So I've just removed our list filter here, which is a little bit funny. But as you can see, we can just copy the list filter over to all of these if we left click. Oh, I guess I did it. Incredible. Well, we already saw that we can duplicate our enchanted books with just normal experience. And then the last thing I want to cover are the two other things added by the Create Dragon Plus. They are two rare packages that have cool designs on them, which we can also duplicate. So if we get a normal package, we can change the color of it. And I think that's super neat. These rare packages can be found just by creating a bunch of packages really quickly and then filtering them out with some attribute filters. And this farm was made by someone on createmod.com called Pomeridoka, and it's actually really fun and clever. And it makes plenty of these rare packages for us to just duplicate for us. All you need to do is put in a stack of items so that it is satiated enough to craft the packages. But honestly, once you have two, oh no dear, stop. Well, I guess now we have plenty of Silk Touch and Efficiency 6. Well, now that that is all wrapped up, let me show you how to use all of these in motion in an actual farm so you can potentially conceptualize it a little bit. To first start with the mechanical grindstone, this is probably going to be the easiest. Over here we have my silverfish XP farm that generates probably really close to 300,000 millibuckets of experience per hour. The sound is quite horrible, so I turned it off, but as you can see, we are dropping out our nuggets of experience here to get crushed by these grindstones that then immediately go into a fluid tank here. That is then pumped over all the way into this spout to create our cake o enchantings, which is being crafted just by some creative crates, some eggs, with sugar and lapis, and being spouted and put into our main storage here. Our main storage already has 1.3 thousand cakes o enchanting, which is plenty for what I've been using it for, which is a lot of stuff. So I have automated it all here in factory gauges, but you don't need to do that. If you wanted to, you can send a sword and put looting 3 on it and just send it to a super forge with the click of the button, and you can see the super forge in action. So this is a really smart system. There will be a tutorial coming out soon, but basically it'll automatically super forge whatever sword and whatever book you want on it automatically. And obviously it doesn't have to be swords, but here it is. Once that happens, it drops it off back into storage to get sent out and brought back into our main storage here. But let's say we run out of books like what we have here, where we don't have enough books for our boots or leggings. Well, we send out books to be duplicated over here with the correct name that can then be cut up and printed with our duplication printers all at once. Those will then all get sent back and put back into our main storage so that we can keep making books. What happens if we want to upgrade our Thorns 3 to Thorns 4? Well, all we have to do is send one Forge 3 book out there, and we just send it to the book upgrader, which will automatically duplicate the book, upgrade it, and then send it back to our main storage, all without you lifting a finger. We can see those books being upgraded as we speak. There is a block over their head, so there's a chance of a curse, but I still have not gotten one yet, which is quite surprising. That forging is complete and sent back out, putting Thorns 4 on a book for us. The last thing to look at is our automated block of super experience crafter, that whenever we super forge or super experience upgrade one of our items, a lightning strike will occur here. It'll turn most of these into blocks of super experience, which will then automatically get mined, collected, and deposited over in this barrel here. This thing has been running for quite a while, so we have literally a full barrel of them, which is absolutely overkill, but it is totally something you can do in your world. All of that to say, this mod is absolutely incredible. It is a perfect addition to your Create 6 world. It is not too easy. It is plenty difficult enough, and I love it for that. It made it so fun to make this whole thing, and even though it took so long, I hope that you can learn from my mistakes and time that I've put into it so that it is way more fun for you. So I hope this Create Mod guide could help you out in your world and make you want to download this mod if you don't already have it installed. But that's going to be it for this video. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for future videos where I will be going over a tutorial for this whole monstrosity once it looks a little bit better. But that's going to be it. All right,